Our guest on the program shares his thoughts on how the domestic airlines can do better if the federal government creates a business-friendly environment.
Let us take this IGR business out of aviation in terms of salary. Because I will be the last person to recommend that you should fire anybody. No. Keep them. We will find use for them. But then when we have other ministries that get IGR from, subvention from government, let the salary bit of aviation transfer back to the subvention. If we do that, it will help the agencies to reduce all those unnecessary costs that airlines have to bear. So they will operate like other climes. And then it will keep these airlines surviving much, much longer. Airline is not like the bank. When people keep telling me that we say that the airlines have refused to merge, it doesn't make sense. You see, airline is not ordinary business that every part of it, including the chief executive, should be knowledgeable in the industry. So that when his subordinates are reporting certain situations, he can pick it quickly. Because why do we fly when the best seats and the most expensive seats we can find in cars? But we fly on airplane because we are flying for time. So in aviation, we don't have time to be dilly-dallying over issues. Otherwise, it becomes a whole mess. So we need to do things swiftly. And the best way to do it is to do things positively like is recommended. ICAO has a way, they have outlined how you should do your aviation. You know, they make you clear that safety must never be compromised in everything you do. But besides the safety, there are other two things, your economy and then your political considerations. Those are things you can juggle with. So these things I'm telling you fall under those two. It has nothing to do with safety. Cooperate. You don't necessarily need to merge and become one. Imagine two people in competition, you are not telling them to come together. One, why do we allow many people to compete? So we improve quality. It will lower quality eventually also because we become one whole body and there's no competition, so whatever we hand out, it is all you have. So it's not even in the interest of the public to merge everybody into one body. We can align ourselves like you have BA and KLM and all those. They have interline agreement. You have One World Alliance. You have and so on and so forth. Meaning you don't have to fly into every location where your presence is or where you can sell ticket to. You are flying between Ijebu-Ode and Ilorin. I'm flying between Karanamoda and Sokoto. So I can sell and then somebody is flying between Ilorin and Sokoto and so on. So we can interline and agree. He sells our tickets, collects the money, and then collects the portion for the leg he did himself. Then you take that for the portion that you did. And then we meet at the end of the day and share the money. That is what we can do. And I believe most of the people I've talked to that are talking about this interline thing, or we should join hands and form one single airline, they meant that. Because when you talk deep, then you see that that's what they're actually referring to. Because we all have our models to sell. So that's why it will not be in the best interest to say the airline should come together and form one company. There will be too much boxing in the boardroom. Well, it is still beautiful. You see, without it today, tell me how we can function as a nation. It is so important that we understand that. So it's still a viable business. I'm talking to people outside. They are still trying to come. And I ask them, with all this, they say my country is over. And they say, no, the business is here. Because where there is crowd, then transportation becomes a viable business, correct? So aviation is a transportation business. So aviation in domestic aviation is good. The only problem is that I want to appeal to government. In order to develop our capacity domestically, we need to make sure that the point of entry for foreign airlines is limited so that we as the local ones can interline with them and distribute their passengers. But if we have multiple entry points all over, then those who used to come into Lagos and then intended for Abuja, they will no longer come if they have a flight from outside to Abuja. So you see how we can also play this game like others are doing and make sure we safeguard our domestic sector so that we can grow our domestic capacity. It creates jobs. It stops capital flight, right? If we have if we have airlines that come only to Lagos, now we will take the portion of distribution. The money stays in. But Nigerians fly a lot, as you know. Most of these airlines come into Nigeria. If you count the passengers on every flight, more than 60% are Nigerians. So now we are selling the ticket, they are buying tickets to the foreign airlines, right? It's our money now going out. But if we have a capacity local, then the money stays in Naira and stays here. So our foreign exchange rates with other currencies will actually even begin to gain strength. So I feel that is what we should begin to do.
Plane makers say they have racked up more than $20 billion of deal on the opening day of the Farnborough Air Show on Monday, July 16, suggesting demand for new passenger jets is looking up despite worries over trade tensions and Brexit. The deal-making came as host Britain tried to convince a skeptical aerospace industry about its plans to leave the European Union, saying supply chains would continue to run smoothly and pledging money for a new fighter jet program. European jet maker Airbus and US rival Boeing have been enjoying an almost decade-long boom thanks to rising emerging market growth and a need among Western airlines to upgrade their fleets, and order books are bulging. Higher oil prices, rising interest rates, global trade tensions and uncertainty over Brexit have all raised concerns that demand may slow. Meanwhile, Airbus announced a memorandum of understanding for Taiwanese startup Starless Airlines to buy 17 of its A350 wide-body planes worth around $6 billion at list price, and another MOU with an unidentified leasing firm for 80 A320neo single-aisle jets worth about $8.8 billion. The Farnborough Air Show is the industry's biggest event this year. It alternates with the Paris Air Show, and collectively they account for over a quarter of industry order intake each year. Opening the event southwest of London, British Prime Minister Theresa May sought to reassure aviation bosses that the under-fire Brexit plan won't disrupt their supply chains. Airbus, which employs around 15,000 people in Britain, warned earlier this month that if Britain left the EU without a deal, a so-called hard Brexit, it could result in production at its factories stopping and aircraft being grounded.
Aircraft accident investigation in the country gets a boost. Details after the break. Do join us again.